Good, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. This is Uma Nair here, Regional Director, ASSOCHAM. Welcome you all for the national webinar on skilling and employment opportunity in ESDM sector and Aatmanirbhar Bharat. And this program has been supported by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, and also by Skill India, and also supported by the Government of Karnataka ITBT Department, and also supported by India Cellular and Electronics Association and Telecom Sector Skill Council. Welcome you all for this webinar. So I also welcome all the dignitaries for this program. So let's start the program. So I would like to welcome the Honorable Chairman of Karnataka Council, Shri B.V. Naidu, to do the setting of context, please. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Uma. And ladies and gentlemen, I think as the theme indicates that this is a very important theme and the need of our country, the skilling and employment opportunities in the ESDM sector. And many organizations have been working, many friends along with the Government of India, along with the different state government, but a lot more needs to be done. The objective of this program is to see how we as a people from the industry and the people from the government and the people from the academic community, how we need to come together to solve this largest problem, the skilling as a major problem that we need to address. On one side, we are very happy. I think the opportunities are increasing. We are already showcased that what can be done by the mobile manufacturing as a snapshot. You know, just to give you an example, I think we became the second largest mobile manufacturing hub in the world. That has happened in a short span. I think we produce around 300 million phones as of now, with a 1 million employment that is there, and cumulatively producing around 100 lakh crore as a cumulative revenue. However, we also need to realize that the value addition in these phones is not much, you know. So one side, we need to keep increasing the value addition in the manufacturing sector. The other side, we also need to increase the total volumes. Right now, our honorable minister, the cabinet minister has told that, we as a country, as of now, has 200 mobile manufacturing companies already there. And there are many more to come with all the geopolitical situation in the chain. A lot more companies are going to come to India. Are we ready for that? It is estimated that, India cumulatively will produce around 100 billion mobile phones by 2025. 100 billion phones by 2025, which means that needs around 40 million people working in this industry. We are not ready. I think that is where Pankaj Mahindru and the team from the Cellular Association working hard along with the government to make sure how we can address this problem and increase the overall volumes on the industry. The second problem is addressed by the Telecom Sector Skill Council. I think they have been doing a great job, and they have a very ambitious targets of training around 5 million people, and with a 25,000 trainers, having around 500 training centers. And then Telecom Skill Sector Council objectives will not be met if you don't come together and the state governments, everybody come together in addressing this issue. That way, I think the Karnataka has always taken a lead. Karnataka, as you all know, that it is known for this IT industry. 35% of the overall IT exports are the domestic happens from India, from Karnataka, and having created a benchmark for an IT, now Karnataka is leading to look at creating a benchmark for the ESDM sector, and it is currently contributing to around 10% of the country's electronics industrial output is done from Karnataka, and it has the second fastest growing startup ecosystem in the world. And it is estimated that Karnataka alone probably need around 20 lakh jobs in the ESDM sector. But we are not ready for all these things. And now, while there's so much challenges are happening towards the COVID, Karnataka government, with all the excellent, the officers and the minister, and they announced the new ESDM policy. Today, you must have seen in the Times of India, this is the one state that has come out quickly, to fine-tune the ESDM policy, and then they announced the new ESDM policy, where there is a cap subsidy, and there are other stamp duty exemptions, the land cost exemption, etc., etc. And some of these things would attract expected to attract around 5,000 crores into the country, and which might create around 43,000 direct employment in this sector. So having said that, now we all need to dissect this opportunity and analyze how we can sustain the growth, and not just sustain the growth, and back end, how do you generate the supply of the skilled manpower? The skilled manpower, we need to do that. Definitely, as I mentioned that, we have an excellent team in Karnataka. I must tell you that our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Aspirational, is an unassuming minister. He does not look like a politician. He does not act like a politician. He's like any other corporate leader for all of us. So he is so approachable, so dynamic, and we're fortunate to have Sri Ashwath ji today as a chief guest for this event. And added to that, the additional chief secretaries, Mr. Ramna Reddy, an excellent progressive officer, is absolutely quiet and delivers. And last 6 months, so much of achieved in the department. These things wouldn't have happened without the support of the minister, without the person like Mr. Ramna Reddy. Added to that, we have today Mrs. Meena Nagaraj, and managing director of the Karnataka Innovation and Technology Council, and also the director of the department. She is very, very progressive, very high energetic, and also she acts like a corporate. She actually works very close with a lot of corporate leaders here in Bangalore and keep delivering what is needed for the the corporate. That way, we have a very, very vibrant ecosystem here, both on the political and bureaucratic system. And now, we also have the other leaders coming from Telangana here, and also the leaders from other, Gurgaon, etc. So the point what I'm making is, here is a large opportunity waiting at our doors, and we need to make sure that opportunity is well handled and we are equipped to have that opportunity. So with these few words, I will leave to the excellent panel members, and also Mr. Aravind Bali, a Telecom Skills Sector Council, and Mr. Pankaj Mahindru. And they're all truly trailblazers. Pankaj Mahindru, he defined the mobile manufacturing in the country. And in fact, he is the person who wrote the draft for the PLI, the new PLI policy that has announced by the government of India. And he's so passionate in driving this manufacturing. But for him, but for that association, what he is leading, I don't think that India would have reached the current level of manufacturing 300 million phones by 200 manufacturers in the country. So that way, we have an excellent people here on the panel to talk about, and also to come out with some strategy. Mr. Bali, I must tell you that if you want to achieve your targets, Karnataka can produce 30% of your targets. The team in Karnataka is ready. You need to sign an MOU with Madam Meena Nagaraj, and this team can deliver for you. 30% of your targets of 5 million people can be produced by Karnataka itself. That way, I think we have a pretty like-minded people on the panel. I'll leave it to the panel, and I warmly welcome the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister once again. And with this, I'll leave this panel for the rest of the eminent people to talk about it.
Thank you, sir.
Uma?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to the next session. I invite Mr. Arvind Bali, who's the CEO of Telecoms Skill Sector Council, to deliver the theme address. So it's over to Mr. Bali.
You're muted, Mr. Bali.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good morning, everyone. Good morning, all my fellow panelists, all the eminent people on this panel, ministers, government officials, and all the people who have come to attend this webinar on a very, very important subject for this country. So, thank you very much for your participation today. As you all know that India is giving a very, very special focus on electronic manufacturing, and especially in last few years there is again a focus. So as you may be knowing that I come from the industry. I was in electronic industry, I was in telecom manufacturing with varied experience world over. And what I see, what is happening now is almost equivalent to what we saw happening in early 90s or late 80s. That was a time when country felt at that time also the need that we need to have around very large electronic industry. I remember because I was part of the manufacturing sector at that time. That was a time when all color TVs were coming from Korea, Japan, Germany, China. It was a screwdriver technology here. Picture tube used to come from there, PCB used to come from there, body used to come from there, and gradually, like we started manufacturing. But still, 70% component of color TV at that time was picture tube, and picture tube was still imported. And that was a time that electronics department at that time, Ministry of Electronics, they came out with very special programs, very special schemes, and they launched and they supported the industry. And that time, two very large factories of color picture tube came in the country. One was Samdel Color, and the other was JCT Electronics. And then Videocon, now the glass came, the glass shell, and that was the time when everything started manufacturing. And initially, when these plants were put in India, whole world was have a doubt whether India will be successful in making such a complex electronic product and also such a high value product. And that was the time when actually it came with the proper collaboration, etc. But I must put it on record here that government support, with the proper ministerial support, what country can achieve. As an example, all these companies not only became successful in India, then ultimately they became global players. They were acquisitions world over, and they became absolutely very large organizations. And with that, we saw a very, very change happening. Now, then there was a lull, or there was a period when maybe, like it was going on some momentum. But when there was a movement from CRTs to LED, again, probably we couldn't take the right steps. Companies couldn't really invest. And that was a time when a lot of imports started from other countries, Southeast Asian countries. And with that, there was a fear, there was a pressure that now is the time when we should again relook at it. If we see that, India's import-export balance, when we see, we are not really too bad if we see the overall picture. Around $500 billion dollar worth of imports and $350 billion worth of export. Now, there are two very big industries which are actually impacting us the most. One is electronic industry, and the other is defense. These two imports are hurting us the most, and that is why in last few months or year we are seeing a lot of focus on these two sectors. And we as a telecom sector skill council, we are working with the industry very closely, to ensure that we provide the right kind of manpower, very well skilled manpower, and we are trying to meet industry's requirement of manpower. So when we come to electronic manufacturing, besides like most of the industries, you normally need a worker with skill. In our case, you need actually high qualified workers who not only have the right kind of skill, also have that understanding of the whole thing, and ultimately they are developed into a future learning path, because every 6 months or maybe every year there is an upgradation in technology. So it is not that you just once skill a person and that your responsibility is over. You have to actually keep upgrading the technology. Like for example, a very easy example is you train a person on 3G, then we come with 4G in telecom, then we are now going to move to 5G. Now every new technology needs new kind of training, and their role of telecom sector skill council become very important. We have made a very strong team. And thank you, Mr. Naidu, for your very encouraging comment that Karnataka state and especially South can support us very well in achieving our overall objective. And I also must share with you that out of my team, the two most senior people are based out of Bangalore. So I also expect to get almost that kind of very high percentage support coming from southern region. And not only that, I think I'm also realizing that there are actually like in China, Korea, Japan, there are always hubs of electronic manufacturing. So two very big hubs are coming up. One is definitely Noida, is quite a big hub for electronic manufacturing, and we are also getting very good manufacturing support coming from South India, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, AP. These states are really contributing very well. So ASSOCHAM southern region can definitely be a very strong partner in taking our objectives in place. So I've been told that some of the people, because of various issues going on, especially because of the impact of COVID, they'll be joining this forum gradually, because some of them are still have got other issues or health issues. But definitely, as they join, we will continue our discussion. So what I just saw Pankaj, he joined in, but I think again he has logged out. That he's finding some difficulty. So next was his address. So I'll now leave it on Uma for the next agenda point, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, so the next session is the special address by Mr. Pankaj Mohindru, Chairman for Indian Cellular and Electronics Association, as well as Honorable Secretary for Telecom Skill Sector Council. So it's over to Mr. Pankaj Mohindru.
I think he's again logged out, I think.
I think he needs to unmute himself. Okay.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Pankaj, you are not able
You
to
can't see me?
No. Your video is again off. I think this is
Okay, I'm on the mobile. There was some challenge. So maybe.
okay. We'll see your still picture on the screen.
I
And we'll hear
don't.
you.
I think you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's fine. So, good morning. Actually, usually, we are very used to hearing good things, but let me give you some grim facts about how we have performed as a nation over the last 30 years. We were ahead of China in per capita income in 1990, and now we are about 1/5 of China, right? I just heard my good friend Arvind Bali saying about India doing well in exports, I have a completely different impression. India has only 3.2% of the world GDP, with 18% of the population. So it's a very bad, desperate position as far as India is concerned. So we have to exhort ourselves and exhort the policy makers to see that we can get out of this mess, economic mess. There are states in India which are nearly, if they were independent countries, they would be the poorest in the world, or maybe the third or fourth poorest in the world. And you don't have to guess very hard to guess what those states are. They're surely not in South India, though. The export sector is the most critical thing for any nation when it is growing, to have a very large share of the world. So this 3.2% is completely unsustainable, and that's where we have to see that we grow substantially and get out of this import substitution mindset. So when people ask me that what is your target for exports, I first tell them that I have a target for imports. I want India's electronic imports to grow from $50 billion to $300 billion, right? China's import of electronics today is $400 billion. So the import growth from 50 to 300, I would not like to do it in isolation. We are targeting export revenue of $500 billion from India in electronics. And the building block with mobile phones is probably the first building block which has kind of got into some amount of order. Coming to mobile phones, which we so fondly talk about, we have seen good growth. We have grown about 1100% in the last 5 years, from 18,900 crores to 2,15,000 crores. So we are even exporting mobile phones now. 27,000 crores was the export last year. And that is just a beginning. Our export target is $110 billion in 2025, which is will be about 8 lakh crores plus. The domestic market growth, we are looking at something very breathtaking, which is currently the domestic market, which is about $26 billion. We are targeting $80 billion number for it by 2025. Now at $80 billion, this consumption will be 1.6% of the world. Another thing I'd like to clear is this, what we had put out, that India will be a 400 billion electronic market. Now that is completely false. Electronics consumption is a function of the GDP of the country, and so is mobile phone consumption. The best nations at their best periods have clocked about 1.3% of the GDP as mobile phone consumption, and about 3 to 3.5% as the total electronic product consumption. So if we are at a 5 trillion number, our electronic consumption will be approximately $150 to $175. So the numbers which we have spoken about will clearly be in a manner that what is going to happen is that to achieve these, it has to be very large scale export. And we have not stopped with mobile phones. We are today creating a plan for export of IT hardware, very, very large numbers of IT hardware. This will surprise you, because IT hardware is largely imported in India. laptops, tablets, etc., are all completely imported. All the manufacturing sector in India is totally decimated. There was a lot of manufacturing earlier. Now it's not there now. It's largely import. But we are targeting a number of about 40 to 50 billion dollars of exports of IT products, and our report on that is coming out soon, and we are going to get after that, very diligently. So, what are the thoughts on skilling, right? Since we are focusing on electronic manufacturing in the skilling sector, we'll have to completely change our mindset today, because our markets are saturated as far as mobile phones are concerned for domestic market, which by putting duties, etc., we could, push people to come here and start manufacturing for the so-called very large domestic market, which is only 5.5% of the world market. So the entire labor force, which is down from the CEO to the shop floor operator, will have to remember that we should be extremely highly competitive compared to China and Vietnam in terms of our output and our quality. So that is the challenge now. The fat domestic market, which could be protected by duties, is a thing of the past, and we have to gear up, pull up our socks to build a market for the future, because largely the focus is going to be exports, and that is not only in mobile phone, also in components. BV Naidu spoke about value addition and so on. So you see, the train gets complete. The bogies come when there is a massive big engine which can pull the train, right? So I think we have done great disservice because of our high intellectual ability not to think simply, right? The argumentative Indian is a very correct scenario, because we tend to complicate matters, right? What has happened in China? What has happened in Vietnam? Vietnam today exports as much as India. It's a small country, 100 million people, and their exports this year will touch 300 billion, which is almost the same as India. It's a matter of great shame for us that a country which is at the same level of per capita income and was much poorer than us has been able to achieve this. So what is the lesson in it for us? The lesson in it is that we should think very simply, which means that our first step today is not scorn upon simpler things, because we do not have the capability and the capital to build a fab, which is a fond dream of everybody. So India has only one strength, that is our people, our demographic dividend. If we train them well, we can turn them into a massive asset. Today they are a liability, they are a mouth to feed. We have to convert that into hands and feet and body to produce and become productive. This is the main challenge of the country. Not over intellectualize the debate that we need to put up fabs and so on and so forth. The roadmap in our mind is very clear. We want to do a massive amount of assembling, simple assembling of everything possible where labor force can get deployed first. So in the entry level smartphones, where India has a big volume base of we have about 14% of the global market in terms of volume. We are small in terms of value. So we have to take a very large, very large share of that, even 50%. First, very large assembly. Next step, get all the sub-assemblies in place, the chargers, the battery packs, the mechanics, the PCBA population, the camera module assembly, and so on. And then move on to the next step, which is the core components, etc. Right? I am very happy if we control 50% of the world's electronic manufacturing and do a value addition of only 10% or 20%. Right? It is better than being, just keep on thinking about fabs, etc., and nothing comes out of it. The idea of giving this feedback to you was that, it is very important for the policy makers also to understand that, because there are, numerous stakeholders who come and say all sorts of things to the policy makers, and that's why the country is in such a mess in terms of policy making. Let us talk about Karnataka now. Karnataka's share of mobile phone manufacturing is today just about 1.5% of India's mobile phone manufacturing. Right? It's a very challenging situation, but Karnataka has done the right things. They have a great policy in place now, and a very bold PLI also, which is a very good thinking. Right? Policy as it stands now is a robust document, and what we hear from our members operating in Karnataka is that the people who matter are very focused and want to deliver. So we have given out a number of for Karnataka that by another 4 years, Karnataka should be at about 7.5% of our manufacturing value, which is about 30,000 crores. Right? We expect mobile phone manufacturing. It's a very conservative number I've given, because the number will be, I'm sure, in the end will be much bigger. But it's a very conservative number. We have never ever given a number which we have not achieved or exceeded. So 30,000 crores is not a small or a mean number. And I think the guaranteed employment which we can talk about will be in the range of about 100,000 to 150,000 people will be the employment only in mobile phone manufacturing. But a lot more is coming in terms of IT products, etc. So that's correct. So what is the main challenge? The main challenge will be of also ensuring that, the demographic dividend which we have is we are able to capture it properly, and for the prospective labor and technicians to see that, this is not software, these are not IT services, but certain quality of people in mass can get employed here. So a lot of work for the policy makers. I'll end my address now, and I think we have a very interesting panel also. I love to participate in that. Sorry, I think my video is still not working. We are continuing to try to fix that. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for that inspirational talk from you. So now, at any moment, we will have the minister joining. So, but let us start up with the panel discussion. I would like to pass on the floor to Mr. Arvind Bali, the CEO of Telecom Skill Sector Council, who's going to be the moderator for today's panel discussion on skilling and employability opportunity in ESDM sector under Aatmanirbhar Bharat. So it's over to Mr. Arvind Bali.
Thank you, Uma. First of all, I'm very thankful for a very good panel we have got on the subject. So we have got Mr. Pankaj Mahendru, we have got Mr. Gurraj, we have got Mr. Pradeep Kunwankar, and Sandeep Bhargav basically comes from varied telecom industrial experience. So Pankaj, your point, what you say, we always really in our industry really admire you because the kind of boldness of the subject you bring is really great. And the best thing what we know about you is your passion as far as overall the sector is concerned, like manufacturing in India is concerned. And with the passion, ICA is working for strengthening electronic and mobile manufacturing in this country. I think that is something really great. So today's topic is really very interesting. Skilling and employment opportunity in the ESDM sector under Aatmanirbhar Bharat. You know, government is giving a very special focus that we should be Aatmanirbhar, we should have our own good manufacturing. And some of the points which Pankaj said are really great. So I will start my first question. Uh, we will be basically talking about a very wide spectrum of electronic. For our particular relevance, handset is definitely one, display is another, and also in telecom, the electronics which is used is very large. So far, you know, we were importing a lot from all the other countries rather than in India. There was a time when CDOT was considered as an organization which was to come out with telecom gears and manufacturing. So we have got two persons who can really comment on that. So my first, I think, question will be to Pradeep Puvankar. We have heard Jio's announcement that, you know, as far as 5G equipment is concerned, that will be manufactured in India. So as a all of us, we would really like to understand and would like to know what are the plans and how big will be this business for Jio.
Good morning, all. I think the question has been posed on the 5G that is going to come shortly. Are you able to hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think currently we are having the technology which is what we call is the latest one, that is a 4G or 4G advanced, wherein we are able to provide data rate from 100 Mbps to 1 Gbps, gigabits per second. When we move to 5G, basically it will be 10x times more the existing speed, then the reachability is more, then the delays are less. So it will be a real-time scenario I think we can provide currently. So there is a delay which is very less in terms of 2 milliseconds or less than that. And that's why the reachability is more. The spectrum auction and all this thing, that is what currently we are waiting for. But we are gearing up with that 5G technology on our own, because there is another team working with Jio who are focused on bringing fifth generation telecom technology for India, and the team is working on their own, not bringing out very big players. So there will be a lot of changes that is going to happen on the infrastructure that is currently existing, because in 5G, the towers which we see now, the big towers, that may not be required, but we can put a small tower that is called eNode B. Though we have a small micro eNode Bs that will be working at a shorter distance. So there is an investment into the infrastructure also. At the same time, the existing electronics need to be updated so that it will cater to the existing the frequency that has been had, and so on. So things, the things are still into the testing phase, as our chairman has already declared. We'll be launching shortly. But we are testing at our campus, we are testing at certain locations, we have tested earlier at some of the point how the connectivity start and all these things. So this is all about increasing the data rate currently what is available with us, and giving more benefit of 4K TV, video streaming and all this thing, multiple conferences, and this thing will be available with that. Now, as far as the skilling and the employability is concerned, I think since we are the service providers, that will remain the same, because we need to have people to be skilled up on the existing technology from 4G to 5G. And the major force is what is involved currently in maintaining our network is the field force who take care of our optical fiber network, because optical fiber network is our backbone on which all this data rate at a very high speed is going. And there is another thing is that our towers, we call it E-Node B, that is one of them. And for maintaining of both, we need highly skilled people, and availability of highly skilled people is one of the major challenge now, because people, when you hire, mostly they say, ki, I have experience of working with telecom domain for this many years. We look for 2 years plus or 3 years plus experience. But what we found is when you put into the actual work, uh, they work on their own. They say कि हमें बहुत experience है, so I know how telecom works. So what we thought is, why not go to the colleges? There are around 5,000 plus ITIs around that is currently available, and there was one proposal also we are working on. So development of the skills of ITI students in the domain of technician, let us say electronics, or there might be electrical people who we need for managing our network. I think what is required, we can tie up with the ITS, give that extra input or extra knowledge which is required to monitor our network, and then we can recruit those people. So currently we are moving from hire and train methodology to train and hire methodology, because we have to spend a lot of time in training those people after hiring them. So why not to train them in the beginning, create a pool, talent pool available. Whenever required at various states, they can go and hire it. So that model is currently working, and it always goes with this skill development program. So we have already tied up with TSSC. We are currently working with NSDC also to get this trained manpower, because the turnout is more in this, and therefore availability of the people at a required time is not there. And that is the reason why we are entering into collaboration with ITIs into the polytechnics, where we can get these technical people. We will give them 1 month or so training, and then we will recruit them as per our requirement. So that is currently the scenario. Though we are moving for what is called is the 5G, but definitely the telecom maintenance and the field requirement, force requirement is not that much change. So that is the problem currently we are facing, and that is where we are working with NSDC and Telecom Sector Skill Council. That is the current scenario.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I also take it as an opportunity to welcome Ms. Meena Nagraj, IAS MD Karnataka by and IT Society, Government of Karnataka. Welcome, ma'am. And we are not able to see your video, but I am just able to see that you are there. We are logged in through mobile phone. So we'll welcome you, and ma'am, we would like to understand from you on this particular topic, that skilling and employment opportunities in ESDM sector. Um, Karnataka is a very progressive state, contribute a lot. We would like to understand from you, like, what is your expectations from organizations like Telecom Sector Skill Council and also overall electronic industry to do better in your state and your sectors?
Thank you very much. Apologies that there is some technical glitch on the web on my laptop, so I'm not able to. I'm trying to log in through the phone. I've been hearing the conversation, and it is pretty welcoming when I get to hear that Karnataka would be able to contribute at least 7.5% of in the manufacturing sector over the next 5 years, because that is the area that we are striving. To answer your question, am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. To answer your question on the skilling front, I think Government of Karnataka has already been working with the ministry from the last 3 years on the skilling front, and we've been taking up various training programs on the ESDM skilling front. But as you have rightly said, that there is a huge gap that needs to be plugged, and the state is definitely going to ensure that all support is given in terms of the skilling part. We would also try to come back to the industry to ask what exactly are the areas that we could look forward to and put an action plan for the next 2 years, which in the initial level, currently this year's budget, we've already announced the talent accelerator program, which is also high-end skilling, which the industry is looking forward to. And in the ESDM sector, which you already mentioned, that there are currently some gaps that you would want to plug and train the ITI and the polytechnic teams. We would definitely like to liaise with our skill department, and we will, if the industry asks and there are certain assurances for employment in the sector, we would like to go ahead with that too. Because as far as the IT department is concerned, this year we have concentrated to ensure that the manufacturing sector is something that we wanted to give a push on. And that is how like Mr. B.V. Naidu mentioned in his opening remark, that we have come out with the special incentive package for the ESDM sector, which has been a long ask of the ISA also. And in terms of telecom, as you're aware, it's a concurrent subject, and Karnataka, to a great extent, has not been having a great fiber footprint. And we've also taken that up on a war footing. And a state level committee under the chairmanship of Honorable Chief Secretary is already formed for the National Broadband Mission. And similarly, we also have a committee set up under the Additional Chief Secretary, ITBT, and we are trying to come up with a roadmap for so which we are already in talks and in touch with TIPA team, the CIAO, and we are having a lot of consultation with the telecom sector, and that is an area we understand that a lot of work needs to be done from our side. And we are already trying to put a common rules and regulation, which was a gap that was already there for fiber installation. And in terms of training, yes, we will take it forward. Probably we will have a round of consultation with the industry, because as of now in the telecom training, we have not done any such consultation, but skill department and ITBT will definitely take this forward from our side. And as I would like to assure you that Government of Karnataka wants to make this happen, and employment is one of the key areas that the department is also trying to give a lot of push and focus. And the new thing that has also been implemented this year is the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission, which is a industry and government partnership Section 8 company. So I think ASSOCHAM is also one of the key stakeholders in this. So we will, various, even ISA, ASSOCHAM and NASSCOM are part of it. So definitely the industry asks as far as skilling, gaps, employment, policy making is concerned. The department would be keen and look forward to participate and liaise with the industry, so that we proactively engage with the emerging trends that are society. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. And I'm really very pleased to let you all know that our chief guest, Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, Dr. C.N. Ashnarayan ji has joined us. And as I've heard a lot about him, I've really seen him as a person, like who is having very good knowledge about the overall industry, and he speaks very well as far as the industry is concerned. And we are all very fortunate that today he's among us. Unfortunately, we are not able to get him on video, but he's available on audio connectivity. So, sir, thank you very much for joining us, and it'll be our honor if we can hear from you what all we need to do for skilling and employment opportunity in ESDM sector under Aatmanirbhar Bharat, because we represent a very, very progressive state. So your inputs, your advice will be very valuable for us. And as Telecom Sector Skill Council, we'll definitely like to work on your inputs very, very seriously. Dr. Asnayan, sir, we'd like to hear from you. So Uma, is audio connected?
So I will just check with him, sir. I request you to continue with the panel discussion. He's already logged in, so I will just talk to his office and check it out, sir. You can continue with the panel discussion. I will ensure from my side. Thank you.
So actually, there is definitely, I'm also finding some technical glitch in the whole platform. I'm also not able to see who all are really logged in or who are not there at this stage. Is Pankaj, you are there? Mr. Pankaj Mahendru, are you still there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm there.
Good. So, Pankaj, your input points were very well taken. Definitely, I think we know your passion for the industry, and we understand from where your critics or your critical points come. I think it'll be really good and great to hear from you. Though as a secretary, TSSC, we get a lot of inputs from you. But in this forum also, I would like to hear from you, well, what all we need to do in skilling to make ESDM sector strong, what all your advice and guidance is there. You know that as Telecom Sector Skill Council, we have taken a very strong initiative. We are focusing a lot on employment. So we have started our own job portal, telcojob.in, and through that, we are putting placements. We are also having our own LMS, ASSOCHAM, through which we'll be doing online scaling and bringing more and more high-end courses on that. But I think your inputs, especially which are very important for this industry, what all we should be doing, I think will be very useful. Over to Pankaj.
Thank you, Arvind. It's wonderful to be here again. I think the first, when we are interacting with the government, my first request to the government is that we must deliver on the promises we make in a time-bound manner. That is the most critical element of credibility. And I think that is a part of the Indian culture and ethos, which is the Vachan Nibhana is a very important thing. But sadly, we find that in the promises of governments and the delivery, we are all a part of the same large family. So, and there is no foreign investors here. So, we speak a different language when they are there. But this is very, very, very important that whether it is commitments on incentives or it is commitments on, contracts or it is commitments on, like skilling, these are very important things which we need to do. I heard Miss Nagaraj, with rapt attention and very high energy and a she resonates as a very sincere person. So, ma'am, my first request to you and the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister is that we should do an audit of all the villages in Karnataka to find out how many people have our 10th pass and 12th pass, high school, with a science, not necessarily, but how many are in sciences, especially the 12th people, and what are they scoring and so on. We have a lot of ideas in that because this is something very long term which needs to be done. The labor force for electronics at the entry level will mostly come from the rural areas. So that is where the capacity development needs to happen. And we find that Tamil Nadu and Kerala, both, although Kerala doesn't have much of manufacturing, are quite ahead of the rest of the country. And Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh need to catch up. Because this is a very large increase which is going to be there. So a supply has to be very strong. And, beyond what I mentioned as Karnataka's share of manufacturing, I'm sure there will be more effort from Karnataka government and it will become a sweet spot. But this is the first challenge. So I think we need to focus on this workforce very, very seriously. Now, the second important thing is that skilling should be made not unfashionable. And if I may use the word, skilling is not, fashionable and sexy. It is usually, if you see the state of the ITIs and so on, and also how even our sector skill councils and the skill departments are doing it, it is not something which people look up to. And this point in our meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister, he had very candidly said that we need to make the skill centers like the IITs. And today, with the digital power which we have, a lot of things can go into new advanced areas of technology. So Karnataka can play a very major role in partnership with TSSC to work on augmented reality, virtual reality, etc., for not only the job roles in the electronic industry, but also for all other job roles, so that we can deliver the same digitally and it can become very efficient and accurate. This is my second suggestion. My third suggestion is that Karnataka can play a leading role in building the design and development workforce for our industry. Now I'm going a little bit up the value chain, which is the kind of manpower required for building, for tooling, for development, design, etc. This is not only the technicians. Of course, there has to be a very large force of technicians, but also engineers. Karnataka should pitch in for our requirement for a very large workforce for design. So, Arvind, do you want me to take up Karnataka specific things or general issues also?
No, I think Karnataka and South, because we also have senior member from Telangana government. Unfortunately, I was not able to see him in the screen. So I think points which are related to southern India will well.
Hello.
Are you able to hear me?
No, your voice was breaking, Arvind. Sorry. Now I can hear you.
So what I'm saying, I think if you can focus, because it is ASSOCHAM Southern India Forum, and we also have one very senior person from Telangana government in the panel. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see him, but I heard that he's also there, and I'll be inviting him shortly. So I think your address related to southern states will be really good. Pankaj?
I
So,
did a general scan of what at the entry level workforce,
yeah.
how we need to change the situation, and
Mhm.
use the NEP which is outlined to create
Yeah.
a workforce for the future. The youngsters who can, when they come out of school,
Yeah.
they have a very fair and a robust idea of how to get into manufacturing and what it entails.
Hmm.
So I think by the time a person has done his high school,
Yeah.
he or she would be around, say, 18 years old enough to work, lot of fire in the belly, very high energy, very efficient. And that is what I say is India's killer application.
Right.
Our youngsters are so outstanding. They have so much hunger in the belly. We call them PhDs, poor, hungry, and desirous people. That is something China cannot match now, because China has an aging workforce, and the high cost. So this should be absolutely our top focus, and that is what my advice to Telangana and Andhra Pradesh also is, that work at that level to see that we have the workforce ready. And whatever I spoke on the tooling and design, etc., all that is also very much needs to be adopted by all the other states also.
Thank you. So I also understand that we have been joined by Mr. Hello. Yeah. So we have Mr. Sujay Kanampuria, who is CEO of Telangana Electronics Department. If he's there, would like to hear from you his advice, his points, basically related to this particular topic of today, skilling and employment opportunities in ESDM sector. Mr. Sujay Karampuri.
Yeah, can you hear me, Mr. Arvind?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this opportunity. In Telangana, we are doing our best to see how electronics manufacturing can become one of the major industries for us. We got started around 6-7 years ago. I mean, we have had some industry in the past, but I think over the period of time, our industry in electronics became relegated to like avionics and defense and other areas. But we started to look at the new age technologies such as smartphone manufacturing, TV manufacturing, and consumer electronics, and so on in the recent past for the last 6 years. So, but what we have done is, I think in the recent few years, we have made some good strides and created a good ecosystem. Right now, where we stand is, I think we have about 20 to 25 companies already started operations in various segments of electronics. Some of them in optical fiber manufacturing, some of them in smartphone manufacturing, some of them in TV, consumer electronics, and ACs and refrigerators getting started now, and 2 or 3 PCB PCBA manufacturing, and then two of them are in semiconductor packaging, And now we have started to make good strides into electric vehicles also. So we have two bus manufacturing companies coming up, and then two lithium ion cell manufacturing companies coming up. These are pretty large investments. And also one of the major Chinese companies setting up a 45-acre park in consumer electronics. So I think these are the things that we have been doing, and we shall continue to do more and try to do what Pankaj has said is one of the key challenges, which has always been holding on to your promises. And I think that's where we are trying to streamline ourselves in the state, wherein if we are saying that these are the subsidies, then I think we should give those subsidies and incentives. If we say that these are the skilled man force we are going to make available, then I think the key is to make those promises, keep up those promises. So that's what we are trying to do. Coming to some of the areas on skill, I would say that CITD, one of the organizations in the state, is producing a lot of skilled manforce for not only for our state, but they send them to various other states. So some of the plants, even in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, get their workforce trained in CITD of Hyderabad. Similarly, we have few more organizations like that. These are very well established organizations. We are working with them closely. But having said that, of late, we've started to identify some ITIs and polytechnic institutes closer to the where our EMCs are, to see how the companies that are already working can work closely with these ITIs so that they can always have the right kind of manpower generated from these ITIs. So that is what I am currently working on. And as Pankaj is saying that, it's mostly from rural parts of the Telangana that would be more enthused to work in a factory. And that's what we are trying to do. We are the first state in the country to create a dormitory policy, wherein we say that if you take an industrial area within the park, you can actually allocate 20% of that land that you take for building a dormitory. We allow that, and you can even pool in with 2 or 3 companies to create a single dormitory. And to set an example on how to go about, we ourselves are now investing in creating a dormitory, and we have also done something else. We have created a built-up space along with that built-up space, so that somebody can just come in and rent. We have created a nice amenity center, and to create an environment wherein skilling is done in a very nice environment, very sophisticated environment. As it's an attitude issue. Right from the time when you go for a skill institute, the young person should feel that he's in such a sophisticated environment, and it starts with the sophistication of the skill institute itself, and then starts from how the factories are set up. So we are doing that from our side. And to take up the next wave of electronics companies, we have created many parks. We have had 2 parks, 910 acres, close to the airport for most consumer electronics, but now we've created 1 park of 500 acres for, it's called New Energy Park. This is for lithium ion cell manufacturing. Then we are creating now a 1,000-acre park for electric vehicles, where the bus and 2-wheeler and 3-wheeler would come up. And then there is another new park for LED and few other associated electronic companies. So we are working very closely with many of the firms in the East, which is like Chinese or the Japanese or Korean and Taiwanese. The engagement is on, and at the same time, we are inviting them to work with our task, which is Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, wherein we continue to skill the young people coming out of colleges and schools to put them through finishing school into the ESDM sector. Now, one of the things that we did recently was when we were doing this BharatNet T-Fiber, we call it Telangana Fiber Grid, wherein we lay the fiber optic. So in anticipating that these firms, these system integrators would hire a workforce. So we work with TASK, which is Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, to create 1,000 people workforce, and around 500 of them have been hired by these system integrators. So it's like if we are doing a project in our state, I think it makes sense to capitalize on that fact and then create a ready-made workforce. So that's what we have been doing. But we would love to continue working with Telecom Sector Skill Council and Skill India Mission to see how further we can improve upon what we have been doing. I think the sky is the limit. No matter how much we do, we always feel that there is so much more to be done. And we would like to take your inputs, especially the thing that is very interesting to me is how do we leverage upon the existing ITIs and see how they can actually create a workforce which can easily be taken up by the new emerging electronic companies. So that's pretty much from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujay. I think very, very impressive talk and very impressive points which came from you. Some of the things, which we have been discussing in our internal meetings, like for example, if we are able to provide residential facility in industrial park, there is always like learning from other nations and also some little work what has happened in our country. Residential facility within the factory has got its own issues, and if it is too far away also has an issue. But if you can provide a facility within say 1 or 2 kilometers from the factory, I think that it becomes very productive and you are able to get very talented workers who are willing to work. And especially I think this works best for female workforce, and in electronics I think the best contribution comes from female workforce. So definitely, I think very, very good thoughts. And as far as we are concerned, definitely, I think Telecom Sector Skill Council, we are taking our organization to orbit 2, where we'll be working a lot on new technology. We'll be working on technology to provide better skilling. Like for example, all our existing QPs and NOS, what we have done proactively, we have created equivalent videos for all of that. We believe that sometime one picture is better than 1,000 words. Like if you see an audio visual, you can learn things very fast. So we are giving offer on proactively to our training partners and also to all the students that they should also see the video which we are providing to them. And we are now taking another step. We are going to provide augmented reality and virtual reality labs to our training partners, so that a lot of high-end trainings, high-end courses can be provided through AR VR. So we'll talk more about that. We also have with us Mr. Sandeep Bhargav. Sandeep Bhargav comes with a very, very much varied industrial experience. He has worked in Vodafone, he has worked with handset manufacturing, he has worked with Nokia, he has been part of satellite communication, so different areas of telecom and electronics. And Sandeep has also had worked for a very short period in skilling also. So I would like to hear from Sandeep specifically what could be the new ways of skilling we can adopt to make overall impact in our skilling exercise.
Thank you, Arvind, for this introduction, and thank you, ASSOCHAM and Skill India and ICA and the Karnataka government and the government of Telangana for having me here at this forum. So as Arvind already described, that I have worked across sectors and there is a lot of experience and richness after having worked with Pankaj also for the association in the past for the mobile handsets. I think there's a lot of new and innovative ways which are needed now with the current kind of manufacturing, which is almost 300 million mobiles per year. I think there is a huge gap assessment which we need to do between what are the kind of roles which the industry offers and the people who are coming from. The people's skill sets are different. Some are totally raw, and they need to be trained on the new technologies and the relevant technologies which are coming into place. So that's where we need to catch them at that juncture where they come out of their classes in the schools, for example, 10th or 12th grade, as some of my earlier colleagues mentioned, or from the ITIs. So we need to really make an assessment, make a profile of these students to really bring the gaps which are there for them to join any organization. And we need to have them capable and built up for long and short-term training programs. And you know, the industry has gone much ahead. We need to include automation and control, embedded systems, calibration, insulating material testing. So many type of work are there into industry where it talks about different areas to be trained into. So in today's sense, I would strongly feel that we should use data analytics also for our operations everywhere. There is a lot of repair and service jobs which are coming up in the industry because it's all electronics everywhere and everybody needs to get it repaired. We are not at that stage where we can dispose of our mobile phones or even our PCs across. So we need to really go an in-depth repair or a second level of repair with these people. So that's very important. A practical exposure, for example, of the students in the industry, which is very relevant in today's times, is very much to be adopted. Like, for example, if you take Germany, they have huge exposure of practical experience. They send almost for 6 months into the industry. So with the kind of technologies having come in place, which Arvind also mentioned that TSSC is going to adopt, I think we can really make their lives wonderful, especially in pandemic times where everything can happen remotely. We can do definitely manufacturing is required in the premises, but a lot of training and augmentation programs can be done over virtual experience amongst the people. So times have come where we need to adapt to the technologies, to the innovations which keep happening every day, and the type of techniques which can adopt to train these people remotely or onto the job. So different methods, different I will say operations have to be adopted to really make them skill in different areas, and that is very important. And a lot of support from government would be needed to really roll out these programs rather than just adapting to the books and book reading. I think a lot of this practical training should be an important part over here to make people understand and make people really skilled for the industry. I would like to touch on one very important aspect which was touched upon by the government of Telangana. Many years back, when I was looking at the Nokia factory in Chennai, we had an issue of the environmental pollution by the buses and people getting transported. So this is my off the record view here. So we had almost 8,000 people being transported to the factory every day from different parts of the city, and the number of buses which were organized, creating a huge pollution challenges and time on the road. So we had suggested to build areas near the factory, in the factory, and around the factory for people to reside. So I'm glad to note that this thing is being implemented in Telangana to save a lot on commuting, a lot on pollution, and a lot of these people getting facilitated by this. So this creates an interest in the people to work for the factories more committedly when they can look after their families as well as be available for manufacturing and other operations in the factories. So thank you very much for bringing me here. And definitely some more thoughts would emerge as we keep on talking offline to many stakeholders present in this platform. Thank you very much.
Yep. So what I understand that our chief guest, Deputy CM, he has logged in and actually wanted to speak, but he is down with fever, so he's not really able to talk. But he's listening to all the discussion, and his staff is making points, actionable points. So whatsoever we are saying in this forum, I think all those things will be noted down and acted upon. And we also wish that our chief guest gets well soon, and then we'll have another round of interaction with him. Coming to my next point, I would like to go to Mr. Pradeep Puvankar. Pradeep, you have been with Jio for 10 years, and I also understand, I think out of all the panelists what we have got here, you have got the richest experience when it comes to providing skilling to the workers. Like in every organization, we have got a HR department, and in HR department also you super specialize. when it comes to skilling and training of the people. So we'd like to learn from you. I think take your inputs, and then all the people who are listening to you would like to really understand what are the critical things, what are the very, very finer points we should be taking care of when we are talking of skilling and employability of the people at this juncture where the country is today.
Thank you. I think I have 2 points to make, and there are certain challenges what we are facing as a HR guy when you go and hire people for company. Taking cue from what Mina says, high-end skilling and the skill gaps. What Pankaj said, audit of all villages in Karnataka, because we are talking about the south, and creation of design and development workforce. That is another thing is there. Sujay has already mentioned creation of parks where the lithium ion factory or the phones manufacturing, electrical vehicles factory, and recently now Sandeep what say there are ample of jobs which talks about service and repairs. So this being a telecom company, I think all these things are consolidated because we are not a manufacturer, we are service provider, and that's why we need people. Like taken a simple example, we have what is called device care people. We need device care people in the company. Now device care people means when the person come with the handset to the our center, let us say geo center or geo point, which are our presence in the district level or the taluka level. Then what is the simple technique is L1 servicing, L2 servicing. He should be able to see what is the problem. He should be able to replace what is the problem. He should be able to open it, see the battery and all these things. These are various few steps which they are supposed to follow. Hiring people for that job. I think currently we have a lot of manpower which is available in India. I think there are 47+% of manpower which is available, extra manpower available, but are they skilled to do the desired job? I think that is something challenge currently it is there. So as going with the Pankaj's statement of audit of all the villages and Karnataka, when you go and look for the people, what we find is we have to hire them and give them a lot of training. That is one of the major challenge currently what we are facing. My suggestion here is, because I am a person who has moved from the academics to the training in a corporate domain, I have seen both sides of the coin. So in the colleges, if you take an example of ITIs, if you take an example of polytechnic, the current syllabus is mostly the theory oriented, focusing on the theoretical part of the thing. What is happening actually in the industry is not considered as a part of syllabus. Some 50% knowledge that can be definitely utilized when the person join in the industry. But exactly what is required in the industry, there are various things which industry has. So the syllabus revision does not happen. 3 years is the normal syllabus revision period. So the students are always behind the technology that is advancing, because you said very well that every 6 months technology changes. So the colleges take an example of ITI, take an example of diploma or engineering college. Definitely they are lagging behind what engineering, what technology and what the industry require. This is not the case in other university abroad. They have a tie-up with the industry and they are always falling in place where the latest thing is going, and the students are getting the first hand. Only in India the IITs are there who are autonomous to define their syllabus, change their syllabus. Otherwise, organization like ITIs, organization like Polytechnic, whether government or the private or the engineering college, they don't follow that track very frequently, and therefore the knowledge of the students is not updated. That is one part. Second part is what exactly required in the industry, that portion, because normally when the syllabus modification committee happens, they take some people from the industry, but implementation of those advices, guidelines, that happens very, very late. And therefore, hiring a person, an engineer, let us say we hire them as a GET, graduate engineer trainee, at the initial level as a fresh engineer graduate. When you take interviews of that, he is lagging between the fundamental knowledge, because he knows he has got good marks, but if we test his basic skill which is pertaining to industry, that is less. So we ask now, to the colleges, when you go to the colleges, ask them कि भाई in addition to his basic degree, give him additional input कि क्या चलता है, tower क्या होता है, fiber कैसा होता है. They are not seen, their labs are not equipped. So can the academics tie up with some industry? Can academic go to industry and have that what is required for you? We will set up the lab, maybe joint collaboration with the industry. IITs get a lot of fund from the various Intel and all these things. They put computers and the students start working on this. Here, that case, because we have done this experiment when we have launched Geo Fiber, that fiber to the home, and we say ki what is required for testing and connecting the fiber at the home, that lab can be created at the college level, and then we will you will train those students and we will hire those students. But anyway, what is I am finding is there is a gap. It is not functioning. It is not working. The academics in these institutions are not ready to spend money on that. They say आप आके पूरा setup करके दो, आप ही training करो, and then we will train our people also. So there is some gap that is to be bridged. That is something which I found at this moment. If at least that is bridged, definitely industry will get what exactly they want. 40%, 60% knowledge if they come, 40% that gap can be bridged by giving training at the industry level. That is one point. Second is the vocational training. I have seen this when the students study into the school, that 8th, 9th and 10th standard, they go to the ITF for vocational training. There is extra class was there. I think that thing has gone now because the student when they come out after, let us say, doing a 10th standard, they will have at least some technicalities. They can do draftsmanship, they know how to do engineering drawing, they can know how to have a mechanical part, they know how to have lathe machine works or draftsmanship or carpentry knowledge. At least if he is not able to go for a studies, he can get involved and join some job. We will require that. So the focus on that is also not too much. They go and do that. Nowadays, school has also introduced what is called is the softwares, some packages, small software development tools, because they are studying these different languages, which is the need of the day, because software development is one of the very big field that is emerging out. Students don't give much importance to that. Just for passing out day study, even college say कि हाँ ये तो ठीक है, optional subject है. Make it compulsory subject. Make this additional subject. I think if that is something is required, I think since we have leaders sitting here and ministers, in at least if you can start with the Karnataka state or southern state, where the syllabus making exercise of ITS, polytechnics or engineering college, and the what company exec require that, add to that some portion of it. If that syllabus is updated, definitely hiring will be very easy and we will get what is the resource and the manpower that is required. So that is currently, that is where we as an industry service provider are looking for. We are ready to enter with that. We say कि हम pipeline तैयार करने के लिए मदद करते हैं, but then they say कि pipeline तैयार करके where we will recruit, इनको recruit भी करो. We say no, as and when we require, we will recruit. So there is something, that is the gap where we are at. I think we have to work on this so that once it happens at one state, that can be replicated into the other state. So that is something which current challenge, what I am saying as a HR person or as a training person here. Training is not a problem for us, but how much time we spend. There is turnaround time for person after joining and making him ready for his job. I think that is something which is currently we are struggling. So my input is same, that syllabus has to has industry related requirement, so that a lot of effort which currently we are spending on training those people, and it is taking time to make them ready to carry out their job, that can be minimized, and definitely their employability will increase if they have the syllabus which talks about what industry require. I think these are the two major points currently that gap is to be bridged.
Thank you.
That
Thanks
is
a
my
lot,
view
Pradeep.
currently. Yeah.
Thank you, Pradeep. And we also have a very, very prominent speaker with most relevant experience, Mr. Guru Raj. You know, Mr. Guru Raj has worked both in US as well as in India. And in India also, you know, like when Apple or iPhones were made, he was like among the first few who were involved in those kind of projects. So Guru Raj will give us very, very relevant point. I would like to say, and especially to all the speakers that we got a text from our chief guest, Deputy CM. He is listening to all the points, staff is listening and they're making points. So anything which we want, like he's making actionables out of it, so we can be very clear with our requests, what's all we want to make scaling, make ESDM sector strong. And I'm also very happy to share with you that we also have from IT people who are involved in ESDM process. They are also among the listeners of this webinar. So I think let's be very clear with our points, our recommendations. They will definitely like to take it forward to make, because ultimately, like we are all passionate that as far as the country is concerned, we should be considered investment sector. So Gururaj, we'd like to hear from you. Like, what are your points? What specifically you would like to say on this particular topic? Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, Baliji, one of the things that went through my mind is, can you hear me? Is there any echo?
A lot of echo.
1 minute.
Muted.
So is it okay now?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so, I was just, a thought went through my mind, sir, is, pre-COVID days, people, like-minded people used to meet in a function, call each other, have, meet and discuss together, have lunch. In the days after COVID, we meet in webinars like this. So for me, this is like a, family meeting, because I am part of ASSOCHAM, I'm part of Telecom Sector Skill Council, worked for years with Pankaj, with ICEA. I'm involved with Karnataka on a lot of things. So I'm the kind of, common family member.
That's right.
So in that, sir, one of the things that has been, and I'm going to talk from a factory perspective, because in this forum I have a factory background. One of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, and the problems and issues they're facing, and how the honorable minister and the country can help the MSMEs in the present context. I am on the board of some of these MSMEs in Bangalore, electronics companies. One of the things we are seeing now is, after the migrant labor went back, many of them have not come back because of fear of infection. Their families are not allowing them, and so on. In the days pre-COVID, and this is just my thought, is, we were looking for business as MSMEs, but there were a lot of people to execute. Today, because of the geopolitical situation, there is a lot of business. There are not enough people. And what this has led to, sir, in the last few months, I'm seeing, is the big fish eating the small fish. And that is, the larger companies have been able to attract people from MSMEs through bigger, higher salaries, better working conditions, etc., etc. And a lot of the people working in MSMEs are leaving and going to the bigger companies, thereby leaving the MSMEs, who also are getting a lot of business now because of the geopolitical situation. And now they are now gasping for breath in terms of people. So this, while it is a problem, sir, is also an opportunity. So like, Baliji, we at TSSC have also kind of, worked with the trained people in Andhra Pradesh, and we've been, supplying them to Foxconn, for example, right? So we've been supporting Foxconn on their manpower requirement. Similarly, in Karnataka, and since the minister is also listening, one point we need now, sir, is there is a severe shortage of trained people. And Baliji, and to the minister, I think, and to Pankaj as as TSSC management, I think, sir, there is an urgent need to create a pool of, we can create crash courses, Baliji, like we have, discussed before. We have talked in the context of Smile Electronics and some of the other companies, right? They need 500, 600,000 people, but the people are not there, and they want them trained. Trained people are not there. So if we can create, say, a 6-week, 4-week, 6-week courses, get them up to speed as quickly as possible, and then they be supplied to the larger and the MSMEs. We are seeing that as an urgent requirement, because I know that even the larger companies, electronics companies, are looking for people, and because they're not finding trained people, they're getting them out of the smaller companies. So anyway, so I think, sir, one thing that I see as an opportunity is TSSC partner with the government of Karnataka, and the same model probably can be replicated in other states where there is a need for people with the same problem, but create these short-term courses. And Baliji, you and I have discussed this before, say 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And some of these courses, in fact, I was talking to some of the companies in Mysore, electronics companies, which Pankaj, and I had visited many years ago, particularly, and defense related. The business is increasing, and Pankaj had visited and was very impressed by many of these companies. So they are also facing severe shortage of people. So if TSSC and government of Karnataka can partner, and we can create these skill sets through a joint program, through a quick 4-6 week kind of period. It can be either first train them and then later put them, or it can even be on the job training. In many of the industries, many of the companies are telling me, and including those I'm at the board, that let's get the companies and train them on board, but train them on the line. So I think this presents a great opportunity for TSSC and the states to work together to fill this gap, which has arisen particularly after the movement of migrant labor. I don't know if it applies to all the states, but I'm seeing this in Bangalore for sure. So that is one point I wanted to talk about, sir. The second thing, and I know Pankaj has been the, in Punjabi they say Paji, he's the kind of godfather, right? Everybody who spoke in this forum spoke about Pankaj, so he's the Paji, right? So, and Paji talked about, NEP, right? So, Baliji, you and I talked about this before, and I think Pankaj touched upon this a little earlier. I think, how do we make, under the context of NEP, how do we make skill aspirational? I think it's very important that, the boys and girls in this India want to go into skilling, not because they don't find anything else, but they're excited about it, they're proud about it, they are respected for it, they are, and end of the day, I keep telling people that in India, having headed various large factories in India, many times the job you take up, the skill you take up is not decided by you. It's decided by what your parents think, what your brother thinks, what your sister thinks, what your neighbor thinks, what your friend thinks, and how proud they are about you, of what you do. So, at a formative age of 18 years, or, which Pankaj was mentioning, right, is, it's that pride factor for a boy or girl is such an important factor. And I think we have to create pride in this boy or girl to get into skilling in which he really wants to do, but he gets respected for it. I think that's the other point that I wanted to bring up today, sir. And I go back to the earlier point, is there is definitely a demand versus supply problem. I don't know about the Noida belt and others, and I believe it is there when I talk to some of the people. But strangely, the supply situation is much weaker than the demand situation. So I think there has to be a comprehensive, from the state, from the country, and including partnership with organizations, of how to fix this supply-demand situation from a national perspective, with Karnataka being one of the states, that can play a role. I have one more point. I have a couple of quick points to make, and that is, we have always talked about manufacturing, but we have not talked about, which Pankaj touched upon, and I have been professing this. I was involved, and probably CM sir knows this, and is in creating, we worked with a team of people in creating the ESDM policy. And I was at that time the chairman of the vision group of the government of Karnataka. is how do we were always prophesying, and my friend Josh Foxconn was also one of the committee members, is Karnataka particularly is a very, very, it's an ideal place to promote product development skills, product development activity, and thereby the need for product development skills. Because while we have spoken a lot in this country about make in India, etc., but Bangalore is one of the few places which has, kind of street corner startups. These street corner startups need to be taken to support it. And I know the government and Naidu sir, who's probably listening, they've done a lot on startups. But really, many of these startups have to be taken to, two levels which provide products for international consumption. And the example that I keep taking, which I take with some level of disappointment, is if you go to a Chroma store, and if you see how much of those products in a Chroma store, for example, are designed in India, probably little or nothing. Probably even the battery bank, I don't know if it's designed in India, but my point is that even in a Chroma store in India, we don't find too many products designed in India. And I think through forums like this, and particularly having the honor of having the deputy CM on listening to this, I would strongly request the minister for Karnataka to take a lead and create a strong ecosystem for product development, where the startups can be supported to actually convert not the startups for prototypes, but go all the way up to produce products that we can sell to the world. So I think that's a thought on the product development, and I think the last point from a TSSC perspective, Baliji, I wanted to say, a factory guy, one of the things, one person who understands, the marketing guy understands only marketing, the production guy understands only production, and then the repair guy understands only repair. There are very few people who understands the complete ecosystem right across from end to end. And there, I think today one of the things that India needs, and we had talked about creating, a course towards that, is component engineering. How do components work on the board? What does a resistor do? What is a diode do? And practically, a practical understanding of component engineering. I've talked to many companies, and they all feel that we need the skill set of component engineering in India today, and that is something that will be a growing need as our plans to become a global hub for manufacturing grows. So these are my points, sir, and thank you very much for the time.
Thanks a lot. And Gururaj, I really liked your comment on Pankaj Paji, and you're absolutely right. That is a very good one. And so I think my next question will be to Pankaj, and I'll also like Sujay and Miss Meena Nagarajan to really participate in the discussion. So as a telecom sector skill council, we have been discussing that we have to really have a world-class center of excellence, right? Really world-class center of excellence. And we are in touch with some international companies. We have visited some international companies, and we actually want that if we actually want to have real good designs, we want to have real good product, we actually need all these capabilities within the country. Pankaj has been suggesting this for quite some time, even in an internal meeting. And good that we have got Deputy CM who is also listening to all the panel discussion what we are having. Karnataka could be one such location, Pankaj, for the big center of excellence what you have been talking. So what is your vision as far as the center of excellence is concerned, and what kind of support will be needing? Some obviously TSSC will take the lead. We'll put some funds, but what kind of support will be needing from government machinery to make it successful? Are you there, Pankaj? I think I'm probably
Can you
not
hear
able.
me now?
Yeah, Pankaj, we are able to hear you. Yes.
There is a share of Shakil Badayoni. मुझे छोड़ दे मेरे हाल पे तेरा क्या भरोसा है कारगर तेरी ये निवाजिशें मुक्त सर मेरा दर्द और बढ़ा ना दे. So industry is very wary of government traditionally, but things are changing very rapidly, right? So I said this in a tongue-in-cheek manner that Shakil is now wrong because we need the attention of the government in a very profound manner. Because the simple reason is that public money should be spent where the return on investment is the highest. And the return on investment is the highest in education, in skill development, and so on. So it is with a very fundamental conviction that we request and ask the government to invest in skill development. Right? And there is not one center of excellence. There are many centers of excellence where the gaps are there. Especially what Pradeep said is so much reality that we have graduates, engineering graduates, and they are not up to speed. So coming to the center of excellence now, exactly what we are looking for. The center of excellence, the state government, should provide two important things. One is the infrastructure, and second is the raw material, people, in a very good calibrated manner, all research done, all CVs in place, all formats properly done so that there is no challenge and people pick in depending on what job requirements and what job prospects are there. They come into these centers of excellence for that reason, right? This is all we want from the state government and the central government. It should be completely run by the industry, right? Of course, with board representation from the government, but it should have a very serious outcome orientation. On the technology side, what all we require in these centers of excellence, I think that's a very long subject, and because we are not talking about one only. So that is something I'll, probably will outline that in more detail later. Thank you.
Thanks. So my next question is to hello. My next question is to Mr. Sujay. In your state, like as I told you, that as Telecom Sector Skill Council, we want to, and we are actually investing money. We are investing our time in creating center of excellence, taking the trainings to a new level. So I would like to hear from you in Telangana. What is your vision? What all we should be doing to make it a real success?
Arvind, I think we would be very keen to take a serious look at this as to how do we create a telecom sector, the center of excellence in the city of Hyderabad. So I think we could provide the necessary infrastructure and also, the other ingredients. But I think before I make a promise and commit myself, I think I would like to explore what are the things that are really required to make this happen. Because we have touched upon this subject quite a number of times in the past, and we have not made great progress. But I think that's because certain expectations always fall short, wherein the state government thinks that, oh, we thought, this is going to be done by the central government and the private institutions, and then suddenly you realize that that's not the case. So if we are in a position to articulate what it means, then I think I will be in a position to make this happen especially if it is what Pankaj has said, which is um, give the infrastructure and the other raw materials. I think we are in a position to make that happen. The reason I say this is because we are right now, created some space, right next to where I have created this built-up space. I have a huge, section. One for, as I said, talking about skilling. The other is I'm equipping it with a lot of test and measurement equipment, and most of them are related to telecom, field. So I would like to understand what it means, and if I get some rough idea of what it means, I think. Creating that kind of a thing is a good possibility, uh, and we can make it happen at in Telangana.
Good. So, Sujay, I think very good point which you said about testing and measurement. I think that is something which is actually one area which we also as a Telecom Sector Skill Council we have identified that is a growth area where we should have some very good QPs, and we should be actually investing into skilling of that, and especially in progressive states of South, we'll definitely like to take it as first pilots so that we make it successful over there. So we will engage with the concerned departments, and we'll try to see that overall we are able to make very good contribution in that field. We are also like some of the things which we also learn every day, that if we have to be in the right recognized space, I think we should be always focus on areas which are relevant today. Like for example, only a few days back we were discussing at there'll be a actually big demand coming up of professionals. Like for example, today we are having this webinar. I think we're making this webinar successful. We need a right kind of platform. We need right kind of connectivity, and this is something which I think every person, every individual, before any such conference, need that all these things should work perfectly. For making it happen, we need a lot of people to be skilled, and this is also an area which we have identified, and we'll be working on that. So we will come back to you with our proposal and plan as far as on testing and measurement side of it. But my question specifically is like, as when you see it from your side, because you read a lot, and I understand that you are very much concerned about overall sector. So what is your personal view that these are the key 3 points on which Telecom Sector Skill Council should focus, or for skilling we should focus, so that we are able to give the best results for the nation? Sujay, this question is to you.
I'm really sorry. I think I really, to be very honest, telecom is such a diverse field. I really need to understand what you have in mind, to be very honest, because see, if you really look at the telecom industry as per se, uh, I think unlike what we have done and made a headway into um, the smartphone manufacturing, we have not done that in the telecom manufacturing. We don't have a lot of telecom, high-end telecom equipment manufacturing happening in the country. So even now, for example, when it comes to T-fiber, for which I procure equipment, most of the equipment is imported. Very few of them, like GPON equipment, we try to push them to make them in Telangana by putting a clause saying that if you put it in Telangana, then we will procure it from you. So coming to some of these equipments, we need to identify what are those equipment that we are going to manufacture in this country. But when it comes to other areas such as servicing the telecom, then there is a huge demand. For example, there is a lot of routers, there are a lot of base stations, a lot of fiber optic laying that is happening. And these are some of the areas where the manpower is required in large numbers. I think that is the area of the focus. If we can, then it makes sense. But when it comes to high-end equipment, telecom equipment, I don't think there is a lot of R&D or manufacturing coming out of India. R&D, yes, in terms of services, but there are no brands except maybe some like Tejas and others, but very little. So my take on this would be that if what we need to kind of identify which areas of telecom we would take it up. If we are looking at it from a skilling perspective, I would say that imparting knowledge in setting up of equipment, which seems to be the biggest issue right now. For example, when this whole BharatNet requires so much of active infrastructure being laid out across the country. I'm looking at it from Telangana itself. So because we lay these MPLS networks, then we lay GPON, then we set up DWDM networks, then we set up the network operating centers, the NOC, that means the router switches, so on. So I think there is a lot of manpower required in this, because if the whole country is going this path, which it is, it requires this. And then the cell phone towers also require a lot of expertise. So I think if we are looking at it from a skilling perspective, I think these are the two major areas where I think we could focus on. And the associated equipment is what we could bring onto the table. Like, like how do we train a person on splicing the fiber optic, or do those measurements and make sure that he gives a certification saying that the equipment is up and running and so on. I think that's how I'm looking at it. But if you look at it from a very high end, 5G, we don't have R&D companies which are doing 5G. So I really don't know. I mean, I think that is best done by the schools and colleges, which is like IITs and NITs and other.
So as far as
That's my perspective.
Yeah, so as far as 5G is concerned, there are a lot of telecom companies in India. Rather, I'll say there are a lot of international companies who have got now a lot of support centers working from India. As TSSC, we are in touch with all of them, and maybe some of those or most of those equipments are manufactured elsewhere. But as far as service part is concerned, some of those companies are providing managed services for those equipments from India. So that way, India has got very good support system, and we will be rather taking it to the grassroots level, to the actually working level. Today, they've got highly qualified engineers sitting in maybe Gurgaon, Noida, Bangalore, those kind of places. But yes, ultimately, you're right. The need will be taking them to each and every router, each and every fiber, each and every tower, and that is what our role is, and we'll be doing it. So my next question is to Ms. Meena Nagaraj. Ma'am, you see a lot of things, definitely as an MD of kids. We as a telecom sector skill council, we are taking our organization to orbit 2. We want to take actually be very proactive and actually try to achieve some really good results which are relevant for the industry. Just to share it with you, Telecom Sector Skill Council, like our board is our president and vice chairman of Bharti Infratel. We have got Pankaj Mendru, who is a chairman for ICA. We have got Mr. Balaji, who is vice president, who is from Voda Idea. We have got Geo as member. So all industries are our members, and everybody's expectation is, because telecom is such a advanced field, so we should be doing more proactive things and try to adopt new practices, which actually becomes skilling standards for other skill councils also. So I'd like to hear from you the way you see that these are the things which are very relevant, which are very critical, and as a skill council, we should adopt that for skilling the youth of this country.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. Primarily, the Department of ITBT, we are mainly into pushing into manufacturing. The skill department looks into the skilling part of it. But yeah, some amount of ESDM skilling is also something that we have taken up. And telecom as a subject is a new thing that has just been handed over to the department 2 months ago. So we are right now putting a few things in place. As Mr. Pankaj mentioned, I mean, we would like to have a conversation with the SSC to understand more in terms of what exactly you all are looking at in terms of the skilling perspective, so that we can have the department of MD of skilling also as part of it, so that it could be an effort in the right direction. The second bit is, as I mentioned in my earlier talk too, that we have come up with the Karnataka digital economy mission, where we will have there is a separate vertical itself for ESDM, where we'll have industry partners on the ESDM sector who will be developing a framework for Karnataka as far as the ESDM manufacturing sector, product development, R&D, as well as skilling. So, we would definitely, and Mr. B.V. Naidu also part of it. So, probably when we get this roadmap ready, we would like to have consultations definitely with TSSC. As our counterpart from Telangana mentioned, this is an area, honestly, in terms of telecom infrastructure, in skilling, we have not thought through from the department side. But if it is an area that we see a potential in job opportunities, definitely we would like to, have several round of consultations with your team, and to ensure that we could put in place. But it is definitely a liaising with a department of skill, as well as from the curriculum perspective. I think the honorable DCM also holds the charge of being the Minister for Higher Education. So, that also could be taken up. In terms of center of excellence, we already have 8 centers of excellence in various areas, and ESDM is also one of them, where ISA and the industry keenly supports our semiconductor and fabless sector, where a lot of startups are being incubated and supported. But in terms of telecom product design, that is an area we would definitely look forward to in seeing how we can amalgamate with the current system of SAFAL. And we would be more than happy to take this forward, where it involves some kind of push from our side when it comes to telecom product design. From the government side, industry, we would be keenly looking forward to your inputs from the industry. And I think post this session, maybe we can have a round of discussion on this, and we'll see what roadmap can be put forward for us for the next 3 to 4 years as far as the skilling bit concerned. And as well as we would look forward to having inputs from the telecom product design also, where we would like to involve the COE Center of Excellence on ESDM, probably could take this forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Really appreciate your comment. So what I will do, we had a very interesting discussion, but we are running out of time. So what I'll do, I'll just take your last comments, any point which we would have missed or you would like to say. Max 2 minutes per speaker. So I'll start with Mr. Pradeep Kunwankar. Yes, Pradeep.
Yeah. Thank you, Bali Sahab. I think that last remark, what you say, ki TSSC role, since we are a corporate member of TSSC also, we are working with NSDC as a telecom service provider. What I found is a TSSC or the NSDC, they can be an interface for the academy and the industry. I think definitely what industry require, what academy has, definitely you can bridge that gap. Setting up the what is called test and measurement equipment lab, or creating a small park area wherein there will be a facility of how fiber is laid. So showing the demonstration of that, so that the technical people like ITS and the 10th or 12th pass science graduates can be brought in and told them how to splice the optical fiber cable, how to lay the fiber cable, what are the ways of laying and all these things. Because I had a very good example of this on at Manesar in the near Delhi, Noida. There is MP Birla Academy, small training center was there. We have trained so many people because I have joined in 2011 when the Jio has started. So from gadda khudne se tower lagane tak ka training I have done. So we have seen that they have created a very good small park-like infrastructure wherein entire fiber laying, fiber jointing, and how to lay, what are the small manholes, uske examples. एक अच्छा एक space था, छोटा space था. It was not a huge space, half a acre, उससे भी कम था. There they have very good park. They have created. They have called it OSP park. Outside equipment बोलते हैं इसको. Reliance अपना जियो के या टेलीकॉम के पैरेलल में इनसाइड एंड आउटसाइड प्लांट. इनसाइड प्लांट होता है जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स होता है, आउटसाइड प्लांट होता है जो equipment devices like towers, like fibers and other things are there, passive things are there, or facilities are there. बहुत अच्छा छोटा सा पार्क था. We have conducted training for them. उनको एकदम सीधा सीधा skill, because they can get knowledge, but skill development is something which is requires a hands on जो है उनको, कि कैसा फाइबर ले करना है, कितना डेप्थ में होता है, मट्टी कैसा डालने का है, कोन कैसा बनाने का है, all these things उसमें बनाते हैं फिर निकाल के रख देते हैं. So that type of idea, I think, as a telecom sector skill or the technical in the telecom domain, if you take, it will be very ready to use for all telecom company. वहाँ पे आपके यहाँ पे training कराने लोग आ सकते हैं. Forget about this COVID period where we are all online, but definitely we have to go offline because hands-on skill जो है आज के date में we are struggling how to give connectivity to the person. Fiber connection घर में कैसा दे, तो हाउ टू ले द फाइबर, कनेक्ट कैसा करे, घर से बिल्डिंग में लेके कैसा जाए, छोटी बिल्डिंग है तो क्या करना है, इफ इट इज अ टावर हाउ टू टेक. फॉर दैट वी नीड लॉट ऑफ टेक्नीशियंस. हमें फील्ड इंजीनियर्स, हम उसको बोलते हैं फील्ड सर्विस एसोसिएट एंड फील्ड सर्विस इंजीनियर्स, ज्यादा हायरिंग कर रहे हैं. बट वी हैव टू गिव लॉट ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, वीक दो वीक का ट्रेनिंग हम दे रहे हैं उनको. वो स्किल आने के लिए इट टेक्स लॉट ऑफ टाइम, and therefore they go and they come out with some accidents. They don't know कि मेरा fiber को है उसके ऊपर metallic coating है, and if I take it to the high tension line I will get a shock. So this something which if they know that कि how to handle the fiber, how to cut the fiber initially, उनको छोटा सा थोड़ा training हमको exactly जियो में क्या लगता है देखे वो they will be ready to roll out. So I think that idea definitely you can come out with small parts, test and measurement equipment, fiber cutting, fiber splicing, fiber testing, OTDR, then small devices like how to see the level of the utility devices, जो अपना जो है lithium ion batteries, then SMPS, all these things ना छोटा छोटा hands on training उनको मिलता है. So you can definitely bridge that gap, क्योंकि कॉलेज में नहीं है, कंपनी को चाहिए. So you as a interface agency can develop that with your with government's input, because you get funds from government, that is something, or you can tie up with the company also and get some partnership with that, and that will be very good example where the lot of people who can be skilled. Because आज के डेट में if I see हमारे इंडिया में 10% of the people only are vocationally trained, like China 50% है, जापान 80% है, साउथ कोरिया 96% है, और जर्मनी 75% है. So and the availability of labor, the hands on वाले जो काम करने वाले doers बोलते हैं हम लोग जिसको, वो है हमारे यहाँ पे 47% additional है, plus है, but they are not skilled. That is the problem. US में -17% है. They need people. That is the requirement there. So there is, I think, a lot of dearth, because we have to have skilled people. People hai, skilling is required. I think that is something. Now skilling is required to suit the company requirement. I am just talking about telecom because I work with telecom, but there are manufacturing units also.
Right.
There are service industries also. So that is the what is called the dilemma currently. Manpower hai, skilling is required. Skilling is required to suit the industry. I think there where you can rope in, and it will be very good for you also, very good for industry also. So it will be win-win situation for both of us. That is something which I want to share.
Thank you, Pradeep. I think all your points our team is noting down, and all will be put into actions, and definitely be touching base with you again to take it forward. Sandeep, your 2 minutes max remarks.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think the industry academia collaboration has to be much on a stronger footing, and 6 months of training should be made mandatory for any engineering student to get into the industry. With the stronger bonding, that doesn't happen. We talk a lot, but actually, it's not happening.
Okay, thank you. And
Very true.
Pankaj Paji, any comments from you? Closing comments from your side? Pankaj. Okay, so I come to Sujay. Last comments, any closing remarks from your side?
The two topics. One is on the skilling part. In general, I think yes, the ITIs and polytechnics are the areas we should focus on, because engineering, BTech students, I think they have a very good career path, and most of them may not be keen on working in the industry that we are discussing. Therefore, the ITIs and polytechnics are the main sources for these. And what I found is that I've done an evaluation of all the ITIs in my state. Most of them are quite old, in the sense that they don't impart the skills that the modern industry requires. So there is a huge gap between what they are producing, what kind of skill sets they are producing, to what kind of skill sets that we need in industry. So therefore, that needs to be changed. Number one. Number two, I think is attitude. Attitude also has to be changed, because if you go to an ITI, the current ITI or polytechnic, and you work there, you have a kind of an idea of what kind of environment you will eventually work in, which is not going to be a great environment. And that particular mindset has to change. So we need to encourage the youth to take up work in a factory, like where what we have, where in Micromax plant or Samsung plant, or where they can actually feel good about their contribution. So these are the two things. Coming to the telecom center of excellence, um, I need to know what is the requirement in terms of the fund flow and other things. How much, what can I do and what should I do from the state perspective, in the sense that I can create, give you a space, physical space. Then I can also work with various private industry to contribute some of the equipment and maybe a little bit of operational guidelines. But to man it and to run it, where is the funnel? Where are the students coming from, and how are they getting recruited? I think if this can be managed, then I think I'm okay for it. So that's pretty much from my side. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And Ms. Meena Nagraj, from your side.
From Karnataka, I think I would request the industry to give us our wish list, because probably the entire ecosystem of Karnataka and how we want to take it forward. And probably it could be bucketed into some short-term measures and long-term, so that we could coordinate with the industry and have the short-term measures immediately actioned. And probably, as I mentioned, since we are building a roadmap for the state for the next 5 years, probably we could make it a part of the policy aspects, whereas the long-term measures go. And in terms of skilling, as I said, I would definitely take the feedback that the panel has expressed to the skilling department, and we would liaise with industry as well as skilling, and look forward to a partnership where we can see that more employment can be generated and the training mechanism is more fruitful. Thank you.
Thanks. And Guru Raj, I'd like to hear your closing points, and also vote of thanks from your side to all the participants. So you're unmute yourself, please.
Am I on now?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Baliji. We live in troubled times, but I think this webinar has also identified how in troubled times, there are opportunities as well, and what the gaps are, in terms of filling the opportunities. So I just got a message saying that, we've got a very positive response from the audience, who could make it in spite of all the technical glitches. For that, we are, on behalf of ASSOCHAM, we are, a deep sense of gratitude to all the speakers, for having taken the time off. And as we understand, people have benefited from the discussions had. Before anything else, our deep sense of, we are extremely thankful to Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayan, Honorable Deputy Minister of Karnataka and Minister of IT, BT, and SNT. In spite of, some of the health issues, I understand he's been listening to this conversation, and his team has been taking notes. And I think that is extremely gratifying to see that, in spite of some of the obstacles that he personally faced, he's still extremely involved in the deliberations and, and action items that could be taken up to the benefit of all. Thanks to Mrs. Meena Nagaraj, IAS, Managing Director, Karnataka Innovation and Technology Society, Government of Karnataka. Thanks a lot to my friend Sujay. We haven't met for a while, Sujay, but but we will do so once this COVID period passes. But thanks very much for being here. Needless to say, big thanks to Pankaj Paji. Paji is Paji, right? So I don't know if he's still on the line, but a big thanks to Paji. Thank you, Pradeep sir. For reliance is such a big part of life in India. Once, sir, I was the CEO of Flextronics India at one point, and Mike McNamara, who was the CEO, and I used to report to him, global CEO. He had told me that you cannot be in India and ignore Reliance, right? So Reliance is the the engine of growth in India. Sandeep Bhargavji, thank you very much for your time and your inputs. It's been extremely valuable. And like I said, I am part of an extended family, all the families that are present on this in this forum. But Baliji, it's always a pleasure working with you. And on behalf of ASSOCHAM, thank you very much for your time and moderation. We also thank METI. I understand representatives are logged in from METI, Skill India, and our special thanks to the IT, BT, and ST Department, Government of Karnataka for supporting the webinar. And last but not the least, Reliance Industries for sponsoring the webinar. Thank you very much for your time. It's been extremely fruitful. Please stay safe. Please take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
It was wonderful interaction.